like here's the.
You know what? I'm going to start
on
it off.
camera.
Okay.
I'm so
Here we
good
go.
on camera, guys, and I feel like I'm lording over you because I'm higher. Wait.
That's much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what
that
the
doesn't
folks-
happen.
What the listeners can't see is that you're 7'5".
Yeah.
Tony is 3'5", so it's
Why
a
do
good
you
4
do
foot
that?
difference.
Yikes.
3'5".
Poor Tony.
Anyway,
I remember your family thought you were bullied.
I was
on
bullied.
this.
Yeah, my mom was very upset.
Yeah, I'll admit I agree with your mom because I listened back to episodes because now that I've been on it, I knew I needed to go back and research more. I haven't listened to all of them yet,
Right.
but listen to especially the most recent, not the most recent, but I have noticed that you get bullied a lot,
Yeah,
even when you're not here.
Very protective Italian mom. Yeah.
Oh,
You know what would be great? We should have
podcast.
her on the podcast.
So I was literally thinking, stop, I was literally thinking this the other day. I think it would be amazing if the three of us had our moms on.
Mother's Day drops. She's the mayor of my town.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, that's
What?
a good one.
She's the mayor.
She's a great story. She came over to this country when she was 6, got kicked out of Catholic school because she couldn't speak the language, went to public school, changed her life, still friends with her kindergarten teacher that taught her English. Pretty good.
From
She needs to be on.
where?
From Italy.
From Italy. Wow.
So I want to apologize for all the mean things that Patricia said about you. And
Yes,
I
because
want to
I
go on
can
the record.
throw my voice that well.
I want to go on the record saying that. Okay, we're done. We're done. Your mama is no longer
Have
invited.
you heard Tony's version of Andrew? It's amazing.
I mean,
Please,
was that
please.
where it was going?
Yeah.
That's where we're going. Go
All right,
ahead.
Let me hear.
Go ahead. Why don't you kick this off, Greg?
What do you say when you first start?
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back here on the Change In Podcast. We have Patrice Sumter. And next with us is Greg Macer.
Make fun of yourself. Make fun of yourself.
And Tony Marabito, he's not good at podcasting. His mom's still upset.
Oh, God, it's so beautifully exaggerated. It's perfect.
That's all I got for you.
I love it.
That needs to stay.
You should keep the voice the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. Oh.
You can do the real intro if you want.
No. Never again.
Yeah, now I'm concerned about how I sound. I hear
I know,
myself in his voice. And now I don't know how I sound.
self-conscious, though.
Welcome back to Change Ed.
Changed.
Change it.
Boy, that voice sounds familiar.
He's back.
We are the #1 podcast for all things change, all things steals here in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but we are seeping into the rest of the nation and the world. I am your host, Andrew Kuhn, education consultant for Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, and here with me is...
Patrice Semitek, also of the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, and I am still an educational consultant.
That is right. And everyone's favorite other co-host,
Tony Marabito, Carbon Lehigh Intermediate Unit, Staff Development Facilitator.
we have with us Double G, Greg Macer.
So it's Greg Macer from the Seneca Highlands Intermediate Unit number 9 out of Smethport. I'm an instructional technology, STEM, and science specialist there. That's what I do. And this is my 3rd time back.
You know what, Greg? Usually we have a topic that we focus on, but your popularity on our show has allowed us to just freeform.
We're gonna riff.
We're going to riff and
Yeah.
see where this goes.
Tell me about this walk. Where'd you go?
So being here at State College, one of the things that we do with the intermediate units, as you guys have mentioned, is we have a STEM point of contact little network. So person from every intermediate unit. We had our meeting today. One of the things that we do when we have our in-person meeting is we like to go out and explore and try to find things around us that can engage everybody in whatever we're learning about. This happened to be steels and science. And we went to one side and it was like the future of science, like what we're doing going forward. And they talked about like microbiology science of like genes and everything they talked about. Now, mind you, I was clueless as to what they were talking about. They were using big words, and it was scientist Sarah, and she was sharing all this with us. While I didn't understand all of it, you felt the passion for what she was talking about and what it meant. But it infects mosquitoes, and it's just a way to regulate the mosquito population without using pesticides. Well, the most fascinating thing about it was that they can't do all of this research all over the place. So one of the things that they found, especially with the spotted lanternfly, because that's what they're trying to use this parasite or whatever it is to get rid of, is that spotted lanternfly, but they don't have enough scientists to do all this. So there's high schools and student scientists that are collecting this data. And so they're putting together these small little packages that can go out to schools that are things that you can help, like DNA sequence. So like your high schoolers can DNA sequence, but not only their DNA sequences, they're citizen scientists. So they're contributing to results that this scientist, Sarah, was saying, like, you know, that they use to figure out what's happening with the spotted lanternfly and how these microorganisms can help it. But if it wasn't for that, and then she talked about how doing that is engaging these kids outside of the classroom and gets them interested in these fields. So she sees more of these kids coming in, and not necessarily the spotted lanternfly program or microbiology, but something in the sciences, something in the medical field. So we went there, and fascinating. And so then the next half, we had to go across the campus to this one of the first agricultural buildings in this school, built in like 1898 or something. And it was a calciminator. I'm thinking that is pretty close to what it was. But what it does is like measures the calories of cows or livestock that would come in. So they would bring these cows in and measure them and take all these measurements and then put them in this big box and measure the food they ate and the energy that they produced from that food, so that they found the best thing, right? Which now leads to our cows eating grain or hay, whatever they're eating. The particulars don't matter, but that's how we got to that place. And it's neat to see that, but then to walk into a time when science took a lot of people trying to solve really basic problems. Like, how do I measure the temperature of this room inside where this cow's in? Well, you know, the person that was showing us around pointed these two thermometers, right? These big thermometers. It's like, well, that's not that fascinating. But until you find out that how they measured the temperature change was they just ran water through this system that just went around the box, and they measured the water before it went through the box and then after it came out of the box. And the difference between that water was what...
Like how much water was in there? Because it would like
the difference
warm
in temperature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So just the difference, and they were able to tell. And then the other thing was cool is like they had this stopwatch, an 1800 stopwatch, which is like, it looks like a music box, right? It's just the elaborateness of something that's just right on our wrist right now. And then the most fascinating part was they don't know what everything in that building does. There is a lot of things, a lot of instruments that they don't know. And that's fascinating. Those instruments were made to solve a problem. They worked, they solved problems, but now we don't know what the
problem even was.
What
Wait, sorry, how did it evolve? Why is it even there?
That's cool.
And so they're very interested in finding out more, like, do other people like outside of PSU understand that? Because they also shared that the last living scientist to work in that building died like 4 years ago. So like that really is this very historical thing. And they're just so passionate about sharing that. And I'm like, if you brought a classroom of students, right, I got 30 kids and I go through that, it's not going to change 30 kids' lives, but it's definitely going to affect 2 or 3 that are just going to leave with this different appreciation of what science is. And that's those experiences that we got to give kids.
I was listening to one of my other colleagues talk about this, and he was saying something along the lines of they were measuring calories, right? So like the heat that was being given off. So they would hire college students, but they would hire them, they would pay them for 3 days to stay in this box. Right. And then, so they would have all their meals in there and they would just live in there for the weekend, get paid as a college student, whatever that might have been back in the day. But then they would measure that change of heat, because that's essentially what a calorie is, right? But that I couldn't believe in this little space, a little less than a 10 by 10 box that people were living in there for a weekend. And that's how they were doing science back then.
Yeah. And it was only men. I made sure to point out, like, it was only men that were allowed to do this. And again, it's fascinating because of the other thing. One scientist, a woman that was just named in like the documents as the computer, right? Like that's who she was when she actually did so much more. So they had a history intern that was going for history at PSU that is working to tell that story of that. What is that movie?
Hidden
Figures of this agricultural movement here in Penn State. But again, just fascinating. And you can walk right in the box. And like you said, like just 2 people lived in there for 3 days. Tiny. And like there's no bad. Like the bathroom is a hole in the ground. And that's what you had to do.
And their food came in through like a conveyor system that they just cut a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
again, fascinating. And it's just so big. Everything's so big. And I think it's just something you need to walk through and see and experience. And you get that idea of like how much we've changed and came to where we're at now.
The other part that's really interesting is that I think it's all about perspective. So we're talking about this as old science, but at one point in time, that was new science. That was cutting edge. And like you said, the things that they invented were probably cutting edge then. The way they provided the food, maybe everything that they were doing didn't seem or sound the way that it does to us now, right? Because we advanced so much farther because of that work, because of those studies that they did, we're able to have a different perspective. We understand more. We have more questions, more curiosity. The one piece that I wanted to jump on, and I'm curious on the group's perspective on this, the work that they're doing now as they're studying these microorganisms and the way that they're impacting their host, because they're actually changing the DNA of their host.
Yeah.
They're actively having this impact. I see the same connection there, that the things that they're doing now, the things that they're studying now, how that's going to impact our lives. I'm actually specifically curious about the impacts medically, right? If they're able to do that now and research that now for insects, what could that impacts be for our lives? How could that change us medically, and the advancements that we can have from this research now to where they're going to say they used to study bugs, right? That's how they started this.
I think if anything, again, at our meeting today, was it Jeff Remington? Somebody talked about how there's a lot of the STEM fields are being filled with people outside of the United States. And again, great. We need diversity in all of our sciences, but the big thing is we need more of our Americans to actually do that, right? Like that we're the smallest group that's in there, but yet we have the most resources. And I think another interesting thing is like if we think about AI and talking to teachers about that and how we have a connection to a bunch of different languages now, right? AI is available in 160 some odd languages. And so as English speakers, we can now fluently speak a whole lot of languages. We could do that with Google Translate and whatnot. But if you flip that around and you say, but that's also 160 plus languages that have immediate access to English, right? In which we're now seeing that are studying and doing more engaging science just in school in general, right? And so you wonder with that tool, right? If they have that tool too, that AI and that ability to connect more with the bigger group, I think that puts our students at an even more of a disadvantage because they're embracing AI at a much greater rate than we're embracing AI here. And so I find that kind of startling. But then at the same time, like just doing this, like if we give kids these opportunities, these are the same opportunities that are kind of available right now with AI because we don't know, right? If we look at the time of this building, this agricultural building, we were just coming into like electricity and being able to, and so we had this utility, the electricity, and we were able to innovate and we came up with all of these and you see the progress in that building. And it's like, that's what AI is right now. We know what it can do, but we don't really understand it. Like there's no guide to this. And the guide is your curiosity, and that's it. And you need to dig into that. And we had electricity, but it wasn't going to do anything until you played around and tried to figure out what we can do with this. And I think that's where we're at with AI. And again, the medical field is amazing. This work that these kids are doing and engaging in, and then also on top of that, growing with this new technology and saying, I'm doing this, I'm genome sequencing or whatever. How can AI assist me? If we're growing along with it. And these kids coming up that are hopefully growing along with it will add to that. What can change could be just amazing, especially in medicine. But like just the spotted lanternfly, like, it just always makes me feel good about all of the student science towards like the spotted lanternfly, particularly here in PA, that I think like there is so much interest in it. We need to give them more of those experiences. And again, I'll throw out another sponsor, right?
Oh, okay.
PSU, right?
Yeah,
Penn
I was
State
just going to say there. We'll put it in the show notes, but k12.outreach.psu.edu. There's a million field trips on here. You can come here for literally as low as $5 a student. And then if you qualify as far as free and reduced lunch, things like that, they can even do better deals for you.
Transportation.
Yep.
That's what I said.
But I mean, it's in the middle of the state here. And if you have the opportunity to bring your kids and to see all these different aspects, these different museums, I think it's something you definitely have to take advantage of.
Yeah, because you're going to get those kids that are going to connect with it. And I told the group today, we walked through that future, lab where there's this like science desks. And I told them, like, if I had that experience, like if I just was able to walk through a science lab, maybe things would have been different because they're at my age, there's that tinge of regret. It
would have piqued your interest.
It could have been different career. It could have been a whole different everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
You have things written down. Look at you.
He does.
I like that because I just try to remember it all. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
The
Especially
train keeps moving.
the
It jumps
older
off
I
the
get, the
tracks.
harder
It
it is.
spins. I have to write words down.
Can't wait to hear about these words.
Yeah.
Would you
Well,
like
this
to
is
share your
this
words?
is this is the wrap up.
He's
Yeah.
He's
preparing
already
ahead.
he's
Look at
already
you.
running you out.
Oh, is it almost time?
But as we close here, thank you, Mr. Macer.
Wait, do that. I'll give you the second to last final thought.
I'll give you the second to last final thought because I have to get my words in.
I have so little to say. It's just so hard to follow you. One, I mean,
You don't ever have to
You
follow that.
carry.
I'll set you up for Greg. Why don't you give us your second to last final thought because we know Andrew has to give his input at the end. So go ahead.
well, I'd like to cue up his final thought here. You should have handed me that notebook and I would have helped you out with that one. No, it's just always fun doing this. In fact, my final thought is look for my new podcast called
Cut.
It's called Cut.
It's called Changed for the Better. Okay, check it out. It's gonna come out what day do you guys?
Monday.
Monday.
It's gonna come out
Monday afternoon.
Monday morning.
Ours is Monday morning.
She said, "Oh, mine's then Monday afternoon."
Yeah.
We welcome Unchanged for the better.
You bet.
All
You guys
of
are gonna
us?
be
Change
well,
it. Change it.
We're gonna bring a couple of you in first, and
I
then
will,
one will come later.
based off the terms of the contract, I will consider it.
Yeah, we'll get you on. Make it like
This is a late night version.
there's gonna be so many AI versions of you out there because the
Here, you want to hear? You want to hear
Change for the Better crew.
You want to hear my opener with my AI voice? And go.
Welcome back to Change for the Better.
That's how it's gonna start. Oh
good.
man, that is it.
Yeah,
that's how it's gonna start.
No one's listening to that.
Oh my!
Oh,
it's gonna be a
it's-
war. We're gonna have the podcast wars of the
And
better.
Don't do
we will
that. I'm
change
coming
that
over
for
to
the
your
better.
side. Can
Okay.
I come over quickly?
Okay.
Jump
No,
the
and
ship.
then we'll like do we'll come together and it'll be like a big podcast.
We're gonna
like
plan a
network.
saga.
I
like
was
those
thinking of a
two
network.
Crossover
Like
pods.
those
I like
two
that.
football groups that just came together to make
Yeah,
like
with
that
The Rock.
powerhouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
the Rock. You can be my sidekick.
Oh, that's my job.
Of course, you picked The Rock. I'd have to say, I kind of fit the physique a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
mean-
agree.
Yeah. My shirt is on in this
I need
situation.
my AI to calm down.
Can speak for myself. We gotta get you speaking like that, in like a nice, good chunk, and then we're gonna AI clone that voice, baby.
I have to tell you that not only do we love having you on the show because of your energy, passion, and commitment to living a life, truly, and I truly mean that. You are a very curious person and you bring that energy with you. And I appreciate hearing all the things you were talking about. This is one of those podcasts where like I'm leaning in with my own excitement because I'm like, yes, let's talk about science. Let's science out. This is totally cool to hear where we've been and where we're going. So you brought a lot of passion and energy to this. And I think on behalf of the entire Change Ed team,
Changed.
Change it. Sorry, I didn't have it. In my mouth.
here we go, round robin. Thank you for tuning in and for listening. Greg, thank you, Double G, for taking the time to be here and be a friend of Change Ed podcast. I hope yours fails miserably.
And then you have to take me on as a host because you get, canned by the board, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was going to say thank you for having me because I always appreciate being on. And while it gets silly and goofy, I think it's just, you need that. I mean, one, enjoying life is a great thing and being silly and goofy is great. But it just, it's good to be positive and optimistic and sit down and have a good time because life's too short.
Oh, that's
You know?
We were just talking about that today. About how when we do a professional development, part of why we think, and again, we think we're amazing because
You
Facts.
are.
think we're amazing.
Hashtag facts.
But when people are in our session, like we definitely like to have fun, and the fact that we're together, we goof off and all other stuff, and we think people could keep coming back, partly because of how ridiculous we are.
Yeah.
But so you have to enjoy what you're doing, and that's contagious. And the work that we're asking people to do is a lot of hard work. Nobody says it's easy, but you can still enjoy it as you're doing it and have fun and laugh. And just this whole podcast, that's what entire session has been, is us laughing, having a great time. So on behalf of the entire Change Ed team,
Changed.
Change it.
I will try
I
to
need
wrap this up one more time and remind everyone that science is an integral part of history, both past and the future. And we want to encourage you to don't spend your time watching history. Get out there and make it.
Wow. And subscribe.